Welcome back to MotoringBox. I'm Sean McKellar and today we are doing a review on the ATOTO A6PF Android head unit. Let's get straight into it. This episode of MotoringBox is proudly supported by Century Batteries. Now traditionally, I have not been a fan of Android head units because they have incredibly long boot times when you turn the car on. More often than not, you'd be waiting 20 or 30 seconds before you'll get radio or Bluetooth audio streaming. But the ATOTO A6PF promises to solve my pet peeve, which is the boot time. So that is what initially attracted me to this head unit. They promise that this thing will boot up in just 2 seconds from receiving power. So that's why out of all of the head units I had put on my shortlist, this was right at the top. Let's go through my typical startup routine. Ignition on, engine on, I'll stick it in reverse gear, I'll let the handbrake down, it's already on. So that is pretty cool. And that's the thing that I was worried about the most. So straight away, that is very impressive. But I will say when you initially install this thing and boot it up for the first time, it probably takes about 10 or 15 seconds just because it's a cold boot from nothing, which must signify that this thing has some kind of a sleep or standby mode to always have it ready to go. But I haven't had any issues with current draw on the battery. The battery's always been maintaining a fairly even voltage level, so really top marks in my opinion. So the ATOTO A6PF is running Android 10, and it has a 1024 by 600 pixel screen. And when you're comparing it to the resolution of a phone screen, that sounds quite low, but when you're using something which is only 7 inches diagonally across, and it's about, say, half a meter or say 2 feet from your face, the pixel density is actually really nice. You can see here with this custom rally art wallpaper I've applied, there's no way you can make out any individual pixel and everything just looks beautifully smooth. There is no issue with that whatsoever. Other headline statistics, it has 2 gig of RAM, 32 gig of onboard storage, and full wired or wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So when you power the car on, this thing will also remember the last app or situation you were in, the last time it powered off. So last time I was on the home screen and it's booted me onto the home screen. But if I select radio, for example, if I turn the car off, wait a couple of seconds, turn it on again, we are back on the radio. It just means that you don't have to sort of navigate into wherever you typically go, because more often than not, whenever I get into this car, I'm always going to be on Android Auto, and I want it to boot straight into that the next time around. So speaking of Android Auto, launching it is incredibly easy. I'm an Android user, my phone is not plugged in, and you hit the CarLink app, and it'll take a second or two just to connect to your phone, which you don't need to set up anything. I've never used it before, but there's literally nothing you have to do on your device. It'll just launch straight into Android Auto here on the head unit. But straight away, it starts playing your Spotify playlist as well. You also have the option of using wired Android Auto if you want to, using the supplied USB connection cable. But I honestly don't see the point unless you want to recharge your phone, but it's nice to have it there as an option. So it's your fairly typical Android Auto interface. You can hit the menu button here, access to your phone calls, messages, Spotify, maps, weather, podcast, news, messenger, things like that. You can turn these icons on or off depending on which ones you want to have access to. So it is really up to you to configure it exactly how you want it. And whenever you want to get out of it, simply go back to the menu, hit exit, and you're back to the home screen. So it's quite impressive how quick it is to connect to Android Auto in this instance. But the unit itself, if by some chance you don't want to use that, is actually pretty good by itself. So it comes with a GPS antenna if you want to install it onto your dashboard, or you can even hotspot it off the Wi-Fi connection on your phone, or even Bluetooth if you wish as well. So there are several options you have available to actually get internet access to this unit. And from there, you've got all sorts of apps. See, the readability is a little bit affected here just from the wallpaper I've selected, but it's typical Android. You can download any app you want from the Play Store and install it onto this device. And please do accept my apologies, it is raining here today, so you might hear that on the roof. But as you would expect, this is typical Android. If there's any app you want to put on the home screen, simply drag it out and you can put it anywhere you want. You can even do multiple pages as well. So if you decide you want to have the second screen over here on the side, you can do that too. So I've gone for quite a minimalist sort of an installation here. I just wanted to have a background which was kind of matching the car. So it's got the rally art because this is a Mitsubishi Magna rally art. And I've got a nice little carbon fiber background there, and I've got the typical apps which I want to use down the bottom here. So we've got radio, we've got the car link, we've got Bluetooth audio, we've got phone calls, YouTube, and an OBD dashboard for readouts from the car. So really you can drag up to 6 apps down here into the home tray and then put as many as you want on the wallpaper as well. And there's even more flexibility with this unit because ATOTO include lots of different connection cables, whether you want to have 1 or 2 USB ports, which you can pull through into your dash. There's a GPS unit. There is connections there if you're running external amplifiers, if you want to run a backup camera, you name it, there's a connection available for this unit to power it or run it. In this installation, I don't have any of those connected because I'm relying on Android Auto, and that uses the GPS, the internet, through your phone onto here. So depending on your use case, you can really install this thing however you want it. And the installation itself was actually dead simple. I had probably the most difficult use case, and that was I just had the wiring loom cut, so I just had bare wires for every single connection. But ATOTO have a connector which just has bare wires, so I joined them all up, threw it in the car, and we're away. They also include 2 different size fascias. I've got one of them here painted silver installed. They also have a sort of a thicker one too, depending on your dashboard. So I dare say no matter what situation you've got, this kit is going to be able to get this thing installed looking really good. There's another thing I've found pretty impressive, and that is it has a full equalizer system. So you can go from standard to pop, where it sort of ramps up the treble, the bass and the mids a little bit if you desire. There's also the sound field, so you can sort of choose, is it more biased to the front, to the sides? You can do that with any head unit, but it is very simple to do it on this one. And it also has time correction, which I thought was a bit useless, but when you actually set this thing up properly, it actually makes quite a big difference because sound travels at a fairly slow speed. And when I say slow, it is hundreds of kilometers per hour, but the speakers in your car are all different distances from your ears. So I actually got a tape measure out and measured to the front speakers, to the rears. And as you can see here, the front left is 1.2 meters, the front right is about 89 centimeters, 160 to the rear left, 152 to the rear right. And I thought, you know, I'll just set it up for fun. But then when I actually listened to music and toggled this thing on and off, it actually makes a big difference. It's really hard to describe, but everything just sounds a little bit clearer with that turned on. So that is really cool. There's also options for enhancing the stereo effect. There's the bass boost if you want it, and crossover settings, which I don't really need because I've just got 4 regular speakers in the doors and the parcel shelf. It's a fairly simple installation. So for my speakers, I've found that going for a standard equalizer setting there sounds the best. I've got the loudness setting turned on as well, and I just leave it at that. So overall, I find the user interface to be very easy to use, laid out very well. Everything is very fast and snappy. You don't have any slowdown. Any app you launch, it launches nice and quickly. And again, that's something I've had issues with in the past with older Android head units. So there are lots of different options for the audio. You can set up steering wheel controls. You can set up what media volume it defaults to on startup if you want to. Pretty much anything you want to change, it is available in the settings there. You can also, of course, wire it up to your headlights, so when they turn on, the screen dims. So you can choose how bright you want the head unit when the lights are on. And then when you turn them off, there's a separate brightness setting which you can adjust for when it's daytime like it is now. But it hasn't been all smooth sailing. There's been one issue I've come across, and that is this is an older vehicle and it actually has a retractable antenna. And what I've actually found is when you power the car on, that antenna comes up whether you like it or not. So I pretty much never listen to radio, but that antenna is always sticking up. And if you're fairly savvy with electrical wiring, it's not a difficult problem to fix. You can put a switch on the antenna output wire and simply switch it off so that the signal never actually gets to the antenna and it never goes up or down. So that is something I'm going to do, but it would be nice to have an option in software. So ATOTO, if you're watching, please implement that with a future firmware upgrade. Thank you very much. But otherwise, for my use case, I'm going to be in Android Auto 100% of the time, because when you're driving, it is incredibly convenient. Simply hit the little microphone button. Please navigate to Brisbane International Airport.
Navigating to
And there we go. We have the option of which airport we want to go to, and that's how long it's going to take. So that is an amazing thing to have. You got Spotify, you got your maps. What else do you need when you're driving? You can install anything you want. It's really up to you. So in summary, guys, I think the ATOTO A6 is a pretty amazing head unit for the price. And it just goes to show that in 2023, you don't need to spend a lot of money to bring your car bang up to date. There is no reason why this head unit can't last for years and years. The software seems very robust. I've not had a single crash or anything wobbly happen. It's just been a flawless experience. Everything's quick, not a single bit of slowdown. And I'm really looking forward to using this thing into the months and years ahead. If you have any questions about the ATOTO A6PF, do hit me up in the comments section below. And if there's any other devices or equipment you'd like me to review, let me know in the comments as well. So if you love the video, do hit like, hit subscribe if you want to. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.